One of the biggest market crashes in history happened today. Trump did that. We saw one of the biggest job cut numbers in a single month today. About 275,000 jobs were cut. We got those numbers. By the way, more than in March 2020 when COVID hit. Also, Trump was in office then, not surprisingly. Yes, Trump did that. Trump tariffed every country in the world. Donald Trump also tariffed an island near Antarctica that has only penguins and not humans. He also tariffed an area where the only occupants is a single American military base. So both dangerous, destructive, and stupid all at once, causing this crash to the American markets. Speaking about dangerous and stupid and destructive, National Security Advisor Mike Walls, we learn, not surprisingly, was doing more of those signal text threads where he was text messaging war plans. Also, apparently, our national security advising apparatus uses Gmail to send classified information and state secrets. We're learning about that as well. But that news, I guess, is getting a little buried under the stock market crash that's taking place. Also, Laura Loomer, 9/11 conspiracy theorist, she went to the White House, had a big meeting with Donald Trump while the markets were crashing. Did it result in Mike Walls being fired? No, just some other National Security Council people who are probably actually competent. Trump took Laura Loomer's advice and fired them. With all of this chaos going on, there was also elections this week. Big election for the Wisconsin State Supreme Court seat. The Democratic-aligned candidate, Judge Susan Crawford, beat Brad Schimmel, the MAGA Doge candidate, who was funded by tens of millions of dollars from Elon Musk. We've got a lot to discuss. And while all of this is going down, folks, Donald Trump, is he posting anything of comfort? No, the arsonist is mocking the people. Here's what Donald Trump posted. All in caps with exclamation points, of course. The operation is over. The patient lived and is healing. The prognosis is that the patient will be far stronger, bigger, better, and more resilient than ever before. Make America great again, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. As George Conway said, he's virtually psychotic. I think we could remove the word virtually and just say psychotic. Our foreign policy, our economic policy, everything we do is being run by a malignant, narcissistic, sociopathic psycho who wants to cause destruction and is causing devastation to our country. We've got a lot to discuss on this day that will live in infamy in the history of the United States. No, it's not Liberation Day, as Donald Trump psychotically calls it. It is Annihilation Day, Great Depression Day. Donald Trump has done to the United States what he has done to his own companies over and over again, bankrupting it in record time. Brett and Jordy and Midas Mighty, we indeed have a lot to discuss.
Oh, we have a lot to discuss, so we should dive into it pretty quickly. But first, what's going on, listeners? What's going on, viewers? Great to see everybody here on YouTube Live. Great to be speaking to people who are listening on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you sign up there, add the show. Man, what a week. You know, I think this is going to go down as one of the most consequential weeks. And we actually said prior to the previous episode how important this week was going to be. And I don't even think we realized just how consequential this week was going to be. First, I want to highlight the big wins for democracy. Judge Crawford in Wisconsin going against the oligarchs, the billionaires, Elon Musk, the MAGA movement put everything into that race and they lost. And I think that should give everybody watching and listening to this a little bit of hope. And it shows that the tide is turning. Even in those Florida special election races where Democrats lost, we saw massive shifts towards democracy in those races. You cannot just write those off. And then, of course, the disastrous Liberation Day announcement by Donald Trump. I'm not sure what I'm being liberated from other than, I guess, the money in my bank account, liberated from the sanity, the competence that we used to have. That's the only thing that I am seeing that we are liberated from. But let's dig right into it. Jordy, how you doing, man?
What's up, Midas Mighty? What's up, brothers? I'm excited to get into today's show. And Brett, to your point exactly, happy Liberation Day. You guys feeling liberated yet? Feeling liberated from what? From your 401ks from, as you said, Brett, so perfectly, your sanity. I mean, what we're continuing to witness, it's not normal. Like, don't be gaslit by maybe some people around you, but especially corporate media, into thinking that what we're witnessing right now is normal, because it ain't. None of this is normal. Call it out every step of the way. I'm so happy that we have this community here. Benji, where do we want to start off today?
The Dow dropped nearly 4%, or about 1,600 points. The S&P dropped nearly 5%, or about 275 points. The NASDAQ dropped over 1,000 points, or about 6%. Massive drops. If you compare the United States to also the global equity markets, the United States is last. Remember when we would report under former President Biden that we were number one in GDP, number one with our stock market, our equity markets, with record-setting job growth, over 16.2 million jobs created, record low unemployment, 40,000 infrastructure projects going up. Former President Biden focusing on things like, how can I make services provided by the government to the people more affordable? How do we lower prescription drug prices? How do we make things more accessible? Which, by the way, Trump and MAGA fought every step of the way. And now we see records like this. The U.S. announced job cuts, total $275,000 in March. That is a record high for the month of March. You don't want job cuts to be record highs. As Richard Delavan explains, just so we're clear, there were more job cuts in March 2025 than March 2020, the first month when U.S. COVID lockdown started. That was under Donald Trump. So what's Donald Trump doing? Is he hunkering down at the White House to come up with the plan to solve this? No. He's going to Mar-a-Lago for another vacation to play golf at the taxpayer expense. You can pretty much fill in those blanks every week on Mad Libs. Trump causes suffering, fill in the blank. What happens next? He goes to play golf. I wonder if they're going to be doing more of those pink Birkin bag Hermes parties that they're throwing that are all the rage at Mar-a-Lago, where people are showing off their handbags that cost $450,000. By the way, one of the things that pissed me off so much, I don't know about all of you watching this or listening to this, when all the Trump people go on TV and they try to describe the devastation and the pain, like, this is pain, this is devastation. They go, you know, when it's kind of like getting your house remodeled or your kitchen remodeled. You know, when you do a remodel, no, most people don't know what that means because they can't even afford housing because of you idiots. The arrogance with which they exude. We're going to show clips later in the episode of the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who literally lives in a $22 million version of Barbie's dollhouse, a real-life pink Barbie dollhouse in Charleston, South Carolina. And he's asked about, how'd you come up with the formula for these tariffs? How'd you figure this one out? Because, like, I don't know, why is the Taliban getting exemptions, but you're going after Europe the most? Why are you saying Europe has 37% tariffs against the United States when they don't? You're just making these numbers up. And then he looks at the camera and goes, well, you know, we look at a lot of statistics and we figured this out. It's very complex. It's not complex. We're going to talk about the formula that they basically use, which has nothing to do with tariffs. And it's all about attacking our closest allies. I mean, sometimes Occam's razor, the simplest explanation, is the answer. I mean, you look at all of these steps, what Donald Trump's doing with our alliances, what Trump is doing with NATO, what Trump is doing with our economy, what Donald Trump is doing with our veterans, what Donald Trump is doing with our health. Those would all seem to be aligned with someone who really hates this country and is trying to destroy it. I don't know how else you can describe it. Oh, by the way, the dollar is tanking as well. I mean, every stat right now is absolutely awful. So I'll show you this video right here as the markets are way down. Donald Trump is flying off to Mar-a-Lago. He's asked by a reporter, the markets are way down, to which Donald Trump says, I think it's going very well. This is like that operation where the patient is getting the surgery. That's how Donald Trump is describing it. Let me share it with you right now. Let's play.
The markets today are way down. The worst day in years because of the tariffs. So how's it going?
I think it's going very well. It was an operation, like when a patient gets operated on. and it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is. We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country, and we've never seen anything like it. The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom, and the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal? They've taken advantage of us for many, many years. For many years, we've been at the wrong side of the ball, and I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be unbelievable.
It's going to boom. It's going to boom, boom, boom. You know, that's how Donald Trump speaks. Now, it should also be noted that Donald Trump was found liable fairly recently. He's appealing it, but in a civil fraud case. Guess what it was for? For making up numbers. For just coming up with fake numbers and fraudulent valuations for his own properties. Shall I rewind a little more and talk about Donald Trump's history, where he's like bankrupted like almost every business that he's touched? Business over. You want me to go through Trump Magazine, Trump Vodka, Trump Airlines, Trump Steaks, Trump Water, Trump Mortgage, Trump Travel, Trump The Game, although I think we're all now non-consenting participants in Trump's dystopian game of trying to crush America. Trump Casinos, Trump University, Trump Foundation, Trump now running the United States economy into the ground. So do you think Donald Trump like surrounds himself with like the best economists and good people, or do you think he surrounds himself with people who are wrong about literally everything? Yeah, he surrounds himself with people who are wrong about everything. Shocker. Kevin Hassett, this guy was the person right before the dot-com crash. He said, boom, 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 and he was wrong. He wrote a whole book about it. He was wrong. This guy's wrong about everything. And I'm going to show you what he said when he was asked about the market crashing. He said Trump ran on this. He said, this is what Trump said. This is what Trump promised. Here, let's play it.
Now, Kevin, great to have you with us. Your reaction to that, thank you. Your reaction to that, market down, I think it's at its lows of the day, is down about 1,500 for what that is worth in the mix here. What are you talking about in the White House? Is there any panic about what's happening at this point? Or what is the general feeling about what people should know about this?
Sure. What people should know about this is that President Trump ran on this because he has a positive vision of a golden age of America where the jobs come back, the jobs that a formerly sensible Speaker Pelosi talked about just now. The fact is...
Seriously? Then here's Kevin Hassett again, where, he says, look, this is, kind of like the art of the deal. There's nothing crazy about this at all. Because one of the things that Trump's surrogates, some of the billionaire oligarchs went out there and said today, is they said this is part of the strategy. Crazy. This is how they're trying to spin this. Crazy is a great negotiating strategy. So what Trump is doing now is he's intentionally being crazy, because when you're crazy, that makes you a good negotiator. I kid you not. That's what the Trumpers are going with. But then Kevin Hassett doesn't realize that Trump's chief national economic advisor, the guy you just heard, he's like, no, he's not crazy. This is intentional. So like they can't even get their messaging straight right here. Just watch this. Let's play it.
I want to show this tweet by hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman, who used to support a lot of Democrats. But during the election, he has switched over, listened to what President Trump had to say, and began to side with him. He says sometimes the best strategy in a negotiation is convincing the other side that you're crazy. Do you think that's true here? And there's been a lot of discussion, there's going to be no negotiations at Howard Lutnick. He's standing firm on all of this. And then it feels certainly like there is some negotiation going on. Is there or isn't there?
There's nothing crazy about this policy. In fact, this is a policy that was tried and was effective in the United States for 150 years. And in fact, I think the first law passed in the U.S., or one of the first laws, was a tariff. And so this is a tried and true strategy. And, I absolutely do not think there's
a tried and true strategy is what he's saying. Well, it was tried and not true with Smoot-Hawley in 1930, which exacerbated the Depression. Literally every economist knows that these tariffs would result in this. That Trump tariffing the world would cause a depression. This is not a shocker. I think what is shocking many, but it shouldn't, because we've been saying that this is what he's going to do, is they're like, oh my gosh, he's actually doing a self-inflicted recession. Why does it shock you that the person, or even worse, a self-inflicted depression, why does it shock you that, again, going back to what I was saying before, the person who does kind of fake and fraudulent valuations, who is found liable, is doing fake and fraudulent valuations? Like, why does it surprise you that the person who's a felon for business records fraud, he's appealing it, but a felon for business, as adjudicated by a jury, would engage in this type of dishonest moral turpitude conduct? Why would it shock you that someone before who's done all these things would do exactly what they have done and they've said? Brett and Jordy.
I mean, when you look at Hassett, Ben, I've never seen a guy with such a small mouth lie so big. It's unbelievable watching this. I mean, when you look at Fox News, it's just state-run television. It is truly chaotic watching that. And it's just, oh man, it frustrates me watching this, knowing the lies that they're spewing are hurting so many Americans, and especially the Fox viewer, the lies that they're spouting to their own people. And we know from the massive lawsuit what they think of their listeners and their viewers. They don't care about them, right? We've all seen those texts. And so to see it continue to play out, it's just an evil manipulative thing that they're doing, Brett.
I just don't know how you could watch that and not understand that it's pure propaganda and that they're lying to your face, and watch it day after day after day and just accept what these people are saying as facts. I mean, there's nothing truthful at all about any of what Donald Trump is doing here. And he's consistently using the language of an abuser, because Donald Trump is an abuser. And so when Donald Trump says about all these countries, they're abusing us and they're treating us unfairly and yada, 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 he's talking about himself. There was no reason to do any of this. There's trade agreements with many of these countries already. The reciprocal tariffs, that whole idea is completely 100% fabricated. It's all bullshit. And by the way, shame on the media for parroting this line that these are reciprocal tariffs. There is nothing reciprocal about them at all. That's Donald Trump's line. There's nothing reciprocal about them. These are the biggest tariffs, I believe, in history right now, even bigger than what happened in Smoot-Hawley, which exacerbated the Great Depression. And that's what Donald Trump did. And he came up with this ridiculous formula, I guess, that it looks like they use ChatGPT or something. People are saying they use like AI to devise this formula, and we'll get into the formula, but it has to do with trade deficits.
I can give you the formula. I can give you the formula right now. James Serwicki figured it out. Just figured out where these fake tariff rates come from. They didn't actually calculate tariffs rates plus non-tariff barriers as they say they did. Instead, for every country, they just took our trade deficit, other than the Taliban in Afghanistan, they just took our trade deficit with that country and divided it by the country's exports to us. That's what they did. Brett, to your other point, the overall weighted average tariff is 29%, the highest in over 100 years. That is bigger than Smoot-Hawley. And Trump says we were at our richest in 1789. America was the biggest, the most powerful in 1789. So we need to be what we were in 1789, which is the most ridiculous thing. And Brett, going back to Jordy, going back to that formula, that's why when you would say, wait a minute, Trump claims that Europe has a 39% tariff on the US, and thus this is what his tariff, which he's calling reciprocal. They don't. Like, the European tariff is similar to what the American tariff was on Europe, like 1%, 2% max. And that was reciprocal with each other. But there are free trade agreements that governed all of these relationships, whether it's the free trade agreement in North America, the USMCA that deal with the United States, Mexico, and Canada, bilateral arrangements, trilateral arrangements. America has deals with Australia. America has deals with Asian countries. countries. America has deals with Europe that are just being violated over and over. Now,
And Ben, I just want to show you this for a second, because I think just to show the scope of Donald Trump's lies and just how big his lies are with everything. And this is why I get pissed off when I see headlines from reputable news sources that say Trump's reciprocal tariffs, because I'm going to tell you right now, the tariffs that Donald Trump claimed are being charged to the US and the actual average of the tariffs that are being charged to the US in reality. So for example, this is the most egregious example, so I'm going to lead with this. Vietnam. Trump claimed on his little chart, he pulled out this big ass chart that he walked around with. The second he pulled that chart out, markets collapsed in the after hours. He claimed that Vietnam charges a 92% tariff to the United States. You know, the actual average tariff Vietnam charges, it's not 92%, it is 9.5%. A bit of a delta there between those two, between Donald Trump's claim, his justification for his tariffs, and what is actually happening. Canada. Donald Trump claims that Canada has implemented a 48% tariff against the United States. Well, it's a little off there, because the actual number is 4%. And you could go down the list of every single country, I guess, to your point, Ben, except for the Afghanistan under the Taliban. You go through every other country and you could see that Donald Trump's claims here are completely fraudulent, the same way he has committed fraud in his businesses by making up numbers. He is quite literally making up the numbers here based on trade deficits, which aren't inherently good or bad. Trade deficit just means we're buying more stuff from these countries, because we have demand for those goods in those countries. So the whole justification for these tariffs are just garbage to begin with. And I just want to make clear how vast the difference is right now between reality, the facts, and what Donald Trump is selling here.
Donald Trump is now, as I mentioned earlier, heading back to Mar-a-Lago to vacation and golf at the taxpayer's expense. And we previously reported also that whether it's with Donald Trump's travel being picked up at taxpayer expense or all of the other spending being done by the Trump regime recklessly, federal spending is actually at record highs. DOGE has done absolutely nothing. The objective data shows that the federal government is actually spending significantly more money now than it was under former President Biden. So even there, Trump is getting it wrong. But Donald Trump's, the con artist, the fraudster, the felon, right, that he is, he's got his next scheme. I've called this a Ponzi scheme presidency, a rug pull presidency, because they got to move on to the next one. For those wondering, though, why does he say we're going to Fort Knox? Because to his supporters with MAGA mush brain, they hear that and go, oh, whoa, he's going to find us some gold and make us rich. Maybe that finds its way into Doge rebate checks, and we get our Doge rebate checks and we get rich. So one of his other schemes, though, is the Trump gold card, where he's going to sell Trump like gold dollar bills or coins that have his face on it for $5 million each. And that oligarchs from Russia and China, I guess the Taliban with the money that they have, they can buy, I'm not making that up, because Trump was asked, should Russian oligarchs be able to buy your gold card before? And Trump in the Oval Office said, yeah, why not? Why not? So Trump is selling gold cards for citizenship in the US. And he goes, if you just sell, 10,000 of these, we'll be worth 50 trillion. That'll solve everything. It's the Trump gold cards. So here Donald Trump is on Air Force One pitching his gold card with his face on it for $5 million. Here, play this clip.
I haven't seen you in a while. $5 million. For $5 million, this could be yours. That was the first of the cards. And then, you know what that card is?
Gold card.
It's the gold card. The Trump card, gold card.
Who's the first buyer?
Me.
Who's the second?
I don't know, but I'm the first buyer. It'll be out in about less than 2 weeks, probably.
For those listening on audio, Donald Trump is holding what looks like a gold dollar bill with his face on it, and he's like waving it creepily. And then he's asked, who's the first buyer of it? And he says, me. Is he saying that he was not a citizen? I mean, what is that? What is the implication that why would you buy a $5 million golden bill? And again, he just has to literally lie about everything. But I want to talk to us all about the reaction from the international community. How is France responding? How is Canada responding? How is the EU responding? How's Asia responding? How's Mexico responding? I'll give you a hint. They are pissed, they are livid, and they're not just sitting back and taking it. They are working through their own relationships and how they're going to retaliate, which is going to cause further pain and suffering. Elbows up to our Canadian viewers and listeners. There's also the elbows up emoji for our members on the YouTube channel. Becoming a member of this YouTube channel also helps boost this YouTube channel as well. And Jordy, what are we showing right there, Jordy? This is a new announcement.
This is what we said. This is the big announcement that we've been working on. So shout out to the Maple Midas. Y'all continue to be such incredible fighters. So we told y'all something special was coming your way. Did a Maple Midas tee, Maple Midas elbows up, exclusively at store.meidastouch.com. We went the extra mile, and I apologize. This is why it took a little bit longer. We needed to find a Canadian a shop to put this together, manufacturer. And so we did. We partnered with a Canadian manufacturer. All of these shirts are 100% Canadian made. Shout out to the Maple Midas, store.meidastouch.com. Y'all could go grab yours right now. We have a limited edition up there. So just very excited about this. And I hope y'all enjoyed. That's store.meidastouch.com.
Let's take our first quick break of the show. We'll be right back with much more on the MeidasTouch Podcast. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. Your data is a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, and harassment. But now you can protect your privacy with Delete Me. Now, as someone who, let's just say, has a pretty active presence online and on the internet, it is really important to me that I protect my data. You can imagine all of the attacks that we would otherwise get. So I trust it. I hope you trust it as well. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to join deleteme.com/Meidas and use promo code Meidas at checkout. That's MEIDAS. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/Meidas and enter the code Meidas at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/Meidas. Use the code Meidas. Joindeleteme.com/Meidas, code Meidas. Thanks, Delete Me.
As you know, I'm a dad, and well, I've just been having the greatest time ever. Here's the thing, I never knew just how important it was what we give our children. Typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise. They're filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy junk that growing kids should never eat. That's why Hiya was created, the pediatrician-approved superpowered chewable vitamin. Now, while most children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar and can contribute to a variety of health issues, Hiya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy junk. Yet it tastes great and is perfect for picky eaters. Hiya fills in the most important common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment that our kids need with a yummy taste that they love. Formulated with the help of nutritional experts, Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more. It's non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, allergy-free, gelatin-free, nut-free, and everything else you can imagine. Hiya is designed for kids of all ages and sent straight to your door so parents have one less thing to worry about. Like I said, I'm a dad and I want to make sure that I give my child the best possible vitamins. And that's why I'm so happy to have come across Hiya Health. The ingredients are amazing and I don't have to worry about sugar or gummy junk because Hiya Health is made without that stuff. And it's able to keep the great taste. Now, we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. Now, to claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/Meidas. Now, this deal is not available on their regular website. Go to HIYAHEALTH.com/Meidas and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Shout out Delete Me. Shout out Haya Health. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links. Use the codes. Let them know we sent you if there's an exit survey. Benji, where to next?
Elbows up, Canada. We're going to show you in a little bit what Prime Minister Mark Carney had to say. And by the way, a lot of our Canadian viewers and listeners said, could we get the maple Meidas tea? And it was critical that we made sure it was 100% Canadian made. As Jordy said, we had to reach out to a Canadian manufacturer and make sure it's all made there. So shout out to them. Shout out to the maple Meidas. And glad we were able to pull that off. And that's why it took a little bit of time. All right, let's talk about, though, the international response to Donald Trump's trade war. Frankly, I think the way Canada sees it accurately is it's more than a trade war as well, that it's a war. I mean, Donald Trump's threatening to take their land. He's threatening to annex them. And he uses the very same type of schemes that Putin does to invade Ukraine, right? For Putin, it's denazification. He comes up with the lie that Zelensky, a Jewish leader of Ukraine, that President Zelensky is actually a Nazi. That's what he says. And people go, what are you talking about? That's so crazy. How do people believe it? He convinced the Russian people to believe that. That's the propaganda they use. So what's Trump's version of that with Canada and the annexation talk? Trump says that Canadians are drug dealers and they're bringing fentanyl to kill Americans, which is 100% false. But that's what Donald Trump says over and over again as kind of pretext for what Trump is saying, which is invasion, annexation. That's war language. That's why the boycott right now by Canada is strong. Tourism is down 75-80% in the United States right now from Canada. And I think that number is growing. The elbows up movement in Canada is growing. We stand in solidarity with our Canadian viewers and listeners. It's an honor that the MeidasTouch Podcast is also the #1 podcast in Canada right now as well, not just in the US. So let me just start off by framing this by showing you Donald Trump with this poster board that has all of the kind of fake reciprocal tabulations. As I described the formula before, everything Trump is saying is false. There's nothing reciprocal about it. But even watching Donald Trump do this and talk about it like a C-list game show host. Oh, wait a minute. That's what he is. That's how he holds this board up. Like this is a game, like he's toying with our life. Like this is fun for him to inflict this type of suffering. I want you to watch this. Let's play it.
Big charts because it had no chance of standing. Fortunately, we came armed with a little smaller chart. So it's 67%, so we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less. So how can anybody be upset? They will be because we never charge anybody anything, but now we're going to charge. European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. You think of European Union, very friendly. They rip us off. It's so sad to see. It's so pathetic. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half. Vietnam, great negotiators, great people. They like me, I like them. The problem is they charge us 90%. We're going to charge them 46% tariff. Taiwan, where they took all of our computer chips and semiconductors. We used to be the king, right? We were everything. We had all of it. Now we have almost none of it, except the biggest company is coming in. We're going to end up with almost 40%. Lee Zeldin's working to get their approvals. And it's an amazing company. Mr. Wei, of one of the great companies of the world, actually. They're coming in from Taiwan, and they're going to build one of the biggest.
Well, that's called the CHIPS Act under former President Biden, where about $50 to $60 billion being invested in the semiconductor industry here in the United States. Former President Biden recognized the problem and the challenge, and rather than engage in a trade war that would strengthen China's hand and actually force an economic relationship that we were trying to deter between China, South Korea, and Japan, as was explained in the interview I did with former ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel. You had with former President Biden a way to spur manufacturing, bring the semiconductor industry here to the United States, and that was working. There was a manufacturing boom here that Donald Trump destroyed. Trump could have just done nothing. If Trump did nothing, according to the Atlanta Federal Reserve, Q1 GDP would have grown by about 4%. Now the expectation is a contraction of about 4%, and it may be worse after today's news. Let's talk about what's going on internationally. Prime Minister Carney, the leader of Canada's Liberal Party, which is now surging ahead in the polls there, especially given that the right-wing party in Canada, the Conservative Party at the federal level, led by Pierre Poilievre, they went all maple MAGA. They have Danielle Smith, the premier of Alberta, visiting with like Trump in Florida and like sending messages. And it's just a whole massive major issue for the Conservative Party right now in Canada, both at the premier provincial level with Danielle Smith as well as with Pierre Poilievre at the federal level. The snap elections are scheduled, by the way, for April 28th. We'll be following those, of course. Anyway, here is Prime Minister Carney's response. And again, basically saying what he's reiterated before, which is that any type of relationship or special relationship with America is done. Here, play this clip.
The global economy is fundamentally different today than it was yesterday. The system of global trade anchored on the United States that Canada has relied on since the end of the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped to deliver prosperity for our country for decades, is over. Our old relationship of steadily deepening integration with the United States is over. The 80-year period when the United States embraced the mantle of global economic leadership, when it forged alliances rooted in trust and mutual respect, and championed the free and open exchange of goods and services, is over. Well, this is a tragedy. It is also the new reality. We must respond with both purpose and force. We are a free, sovereign, and ambitious country. We are masters in our own home.
By the way, Prime Minister Carney also met with Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum to strengthen their relationships there to respond to the U.S. Tariff war. Also, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum announced that Mexico will be signing a new trade agreement with the European Union and work to further diversify trade outside of the U.S. So you have all of these new alliances being formed where America used to be the leader and people wanted to trade with America and travel to America. As you said at the outset, Brett, America's a pariah state. It's an isolated country. It is like a bigger version, kind of North Korea now, except at least even North Korea has an ally in Xi of China. America, you look to America, you're like, well, what's the game plan here? Like who's the ally? Like, what are you even doing? You're just kind of pissed at the Taliban, I guess it's the Taliban at this point. Let me just show you French President Emmanuel Macron, and then Brett, I want to get your and Jordy's take on what we're seeing internationally. Here's French President Emmanuel Macron, and by the way, we did we did AI to the voice to make it translating into English. Sorry to our French listeners and viewers. Play it.
It was important for us to meet as soon as possible after last night's announcements by President Trump, which are a shock for international trade, not just for the European Union, France, but fundamentally for the smooth functioning of trade. What is important, and it's all the work that needs to be done per sector, is that upcoming investments or the investments announced in recent weeks are temporarily suspended until things are clarified with the United States of America. Because what would be the message of having major European players starting to invest billions of euros in the American economy at a time when they are hitting us? Therefore, we need to have collective solidarity.
So the message is, do not travel to the U.S., do not invest in the U.S., avoid the U.S. It's sad. It is, as I said, it's a day that will live in infamy. One of the weakest, most destructive days in the history of the United States of America. Brett, Jordy.
It just shows you how much damage one individual can do. And it's just such a, like, you couldn't even imagine a few months ago that leaders of countries like Canada and France would be making these kinds of statements about the United States. But that's what happens when you have a maniac like Donald Trump essentially declaring war on all of these countries. It is quite frankly shameful. And I say, that this is all due to one man, but it's more than just that too. It's due to this Republican Party that just backs everything he does. We are seeing some folks break with him on this tariff stuff, but they've enabled him this entire way, this right-wing media ecosystem. And Ben, to your point, you said that, Donald Trump was treating this like a game as he brought out his giant poster board with all the lies on it. And when you tune into stuff like channels like Fox, the stuff you see is actually insane. Like Jesse Waters today, because we have researchers and their job is they watch Fox all day. I know. Yeah, we give them hazard pay for those asking. So like today, Jesse Waters, for example, he was like, how exciting is this? What an exciting time to be alive. We're rewiring the whole world right now. Isn't it exciting? No, I don't think it's exciting. I don't think anything about this is exciting. I think we have a lot of historical comps for how this works out. The United States has applied these tariffs, has done tariff moves similar to this, basically once every 100 years. Then the economy crashes into a depression, and then they realize how big of an idea it is. But this time, Donald Trump went even further with it, and he is attacking all of our allies. I also want to be clear that tariffs aren't bad all the time. Like strategic tariffs can be smart and should be used strategically to protect American industries. But that is not what Donald Trump is doing. He's just applying blanket tariffs to everywhere. There is no rhyme or reason to any of this. And that's why the market's tanked, quite frankly. I think Trump has too often, and including this election, and I try to wonder, how are people still falling for this scam? But he gets by on this idea of, he's just saying that he's not actually going to do these things. There were so many posts from people in the business community, Wall Street, who after the election were like, yeah, but he's going to be great for stocks. He's not going to do that. You think he's going to do a blanket tariff? He's not going to do that crap. He's just bluffing, man. It's just a bluff. Just posture. He's not doing that. He's going to be great for Bitcoin. He's going to be great for the stocks. He's going to be great for business. And from the beginning, I'm always like, what are you basing that off of? And Trump has been talking about these tariffs incorrectly for decades now. This isn't even a new thing that he's discussing. This has been his concept. This has been his worldview. This has been his uneducated worldview. He refuses to actually adapt his thoughts to actual facts and evidence, and decades and decades and hundreds of years of actual real world implications of what all of this means. And you still have the ability to look at this guy and go, nah, he's just bluffing this time. He's not going to do it. He's a great businessman. I do not understand what these people are basing this stuff off of. And ultimately, I saw even yesterday, today there's a lot of these people were like, oh, I guess he's right. I guess he was doing all of that. We're screwed. You see the business community right now horrified. You see layoffs happening at Stellantis. You're seeing massive layoffs at major factories in Iowa. You are seeing companies having to now tighten their belts. It's looking right now like the COVID pandemic in terms of layoffs. And the economy was literally shut down then. Like people couldn't work then. This is a self-inflicted damage by Donald Trump. And by the way, who was president during the COVID pandemic when all those jobs went away too? Donald Trump. Go through the history. Who are the presidents during these major moments of recession, of depression? You could go back. It's always the Republican candidate, the Republican president, because there's a cycle where the Republicans crash things. Yep. The Democrats come in and they fix the economy. Then Americans are like, oh, it's good. It's fixing too slow. The growth isn't good enough. Oh, the markets are a little, the supply chain's messed up because of the previous guy. And then they go, you know what we need, I guess, to really turbocharge this thing, to get things back on track? A Republican. And then the Republican comes in, and what do? Crash the economy. Then people go, oh, maybe I should have voted for the Democrat, who all the experts said would be much better on the economy. They do that, the economy improves. It's a cycle of the United States that happens literally without fail all the time. But I think there's hope. I think there's opportunity. We're going to speak about soon the wins in Wisconsin, what happened in Florida. We're going to talk about some of these massive protests that are taking place this weekend, this Saturday, because people are activated. People are fired up. And I think the Republicans and Donald Trump, they do not realize the beast that they have awakened by doing all this, by giving the middle finger to the American people. There is backlash like I have quite frankly never seen before, even from many of Donald Trump's voters. We're going to go through all this and more in a little bit. First, I got to toss it over to Jordy.
Well, you know what? I'll actually come back with my comments, Brett, right after break. Why don't we cut to our last quick commercial break of the show?
Let's do it.
Did you know that the liver is the second largest organ in your body? It's responsible for over 500 functions in your body, but for some reason, liver health doesn't always get the attention that it deserves. Dose for Your Liver was formulated to cleanse your liver of unwanted elements, aid digestion, and maintain your body's filter. Why does this matter? Well, your liver is the second largest organ in your body and is responsible for over 500 functions in your body. It acts as your body's filter, flushing out unwanted elements and breaking down what you consume into essential nutrients. The liver produces and regulates cholesterol, stores vitamins and minerals, and impacts digestive and metabolic health, amongst many other things. Dose's science-backed formula promotes liver function, aids digestion, eases bloating, and even boosts energy levels. Clinical results. In a double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial, Dose for Your Liver lowered liver enzyme levels by 50% in over 86% of participants. Stick with Dose and feel the incredible benefits over time with more energy, better digestion, reduced bloating, healthier liver enzyme function, reduction of brain fog, and better sleep. One Dose for Your Liver shot is equivalent to 17 shots of turmeric juice. Dose is gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, and vegan. Save 30% on your first month of subscription by going to dosedaily.co/Meidas or entering Meidas at checkout. That's dosedaily.co/Meidas for 30% off your first month subscription.
This time of year, it's time to shake off those winter blues and get ready for a fresh start, and that includes your hair. I've been using the Iristore Elite, and I've got to say I was skeptical at first, but this thing is legit. I pop it on when I'm watching TV or answering emails, completely hands-free, super comfortable, and honestly, kind of relaxing. Over time, I started noticing less shedding and more regrowth, especially around my temples where I noticed a little bit of thinning. I've tried other LED devices before, but none of them felt this effortless or gave me these kinds of results. The Iristore Elite is in a league of its own with 282 lasers and LEDs that deliver light therapy right to your scalp. It's like a spa day for your hair follicles. So give yourself the gift of hair confidence this spring. For a limited time only, our listeners get $625 off their Iristore Elite when you use code Meidas at iristorelaser.com. That's $625 off your Iristore Elite at iristorelaser.com with promo code Meidas. MEIDAS. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Hair loss is frustrating. You don't have to fight it alone. Thanks to Iristore.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Dose, amazing. Iristore, brand new sponsor. Amazing. Brett, your hair looking better than ever, big bro. Way to go. Definitely check that out. Links in description of both audio and YouTube. Use the links, use the codes, let them know we sent you. I just had two comments that I wanted to make on their last segment before we move on, brothers. So listening to Macron and Carney speak, you could just, it pains them. Like they're not happy about this this move that's happening right now. It pains them what's happening, and they see the field, and now they have to kind of just play with what's in front of them, and it's incredibly disappointing just to see this. You know, I've almost never been more disappointed, you know, to be here, to be an American right now because of what Donald Trump is doing and making our brand, our America look like. We look like fools. We do. We look stupid. We look insane. We look insane on a global stage. And it's super frustrating. And I'm just so happy that we have this vehicle, this engine here, where we could continue to hold truth to power. Because, you know, damn it, we're all patriots here. We care about this country. We love this country. And we don't want to be seen to be made a laughing stock in the world. And then, by the way, Brett, to your other point there about the business community, no community has been more exposed over the last 8 months than the business community, than those in the business community who are purported business experts who told you, no, I'm voting for Donald Trump because, you know, he's a businessman. He's a businessman and he's going to get this economy, you know, back on track. First of all, what do we even talk? The economy was doing, you know, it was doing fine. We were leading the world with where we were. And all of a sudden Trump comes in and just fucks everything up. And it goes so beyond that. It is so devastating, the impacts that Trump has done to this country. And then he's going to hold up a Trump $5 million dollar card with his face on it and talk about how y'all could come into this country now because I'm going to do. He's making us look like fools at the expense of the American taxpayer and the American citizen. And it's distressing. It's straight up. It is upsetting.
That's why the story also of him tariffing an American military base and tariffing the penguins on an island near Antarctica where there's literally no human occupants. It goes to the fact that this is not just dangerous and destructive and harmful in what he's doing, but it's like idiotic. To your point, Jordy, it makes us all just look so stupid as a result of an individual who's so reckless, careless, and dangerous all at the same time. And speaking of all of those qualities, while all of this was going on, as the markets are crashing, as the dollar is plunging, as GDP is now being predicted 4% contraction or close to, while all of this turmoil is happening, and you've got Donald Trump in the Oval Office meeting with far-right conspiracy theorist Laura Loomer, and she was pressing him to fire National Security Council staff members that she doesn't like, and she has Donald Trump's ear. I mean, just so people can see some of the types of things that she said before. I mean, I'm not gonna do more than 3, but I could pick 3 at random. Over 2,000 migrants have died crossing the Mediterranean so far this year. That was from July 2017. She goes, good, with a clap hands emoji. Here's to 2,000 more, referring to more migrants dying. She posted on September 8th, 2024. If Kamala Harris wins, the White House is going to smell like curry. And then she posted 9/11 was an inside job. And then she continued to spread lies about 9/11 over and over again, calling it an inside job repeatedly. After Donald Trump met with Laura Loomer, 3 National Security Council staffers, including Brian Walsh, Thomas Boudry, and David Feith, were fired. Donald Trump was asked about it on Air Force One. So you're taking advice from Laura Loomer? In any other normal time, this would be the end of a presidency, just this alone. But here's Donald Trump in Air Force One being asked about it. And he said, yeah, I take her guidance. I take her recommendations. Yeah. I listen to what she said. Watch and listen for yourself. Let's play it.
Not seen. Also,
can you tell us a little bit about your meeting with Laura Loomer and Mike Waltz today and how that came about?
So Laura Loomer is a very good patriot. She is a very strong person. And I saw her yesterday for a little while. She makes recommendations of things and people. And sometimes I listen to those recommendations like I do with everybody. I listen to everybody and then I make a decision. But I saw her yesterday. She was at the ceremony. And she'll always have something to say, usually very constructive.
What did she recommend?
She recommended certain people for jobs.
Adding to the administration, not
adding.
Who did she
not
recommend?
firing?
Well, she'll recommend that too. But yesterday she recommended some people for jobs.
Did she have anything to do with the NSC aides who were ousted?
No, I don't know.
Do you know how many, sir? Do you know how many from the NSC?
Not many.
Was it 5, a dozen?
I really don't know.
Who does Loomer want?
There were a couple that I know.
Who did Laura recommend hiring?
Well, I don't want to say that, but she's recommended some good people over the years. She's been in the party a long time. She's done a good job.
Glazing Laura Loomer, saying she's done a great job. She's a great patriot. The president of the United States taking advice who to hire and fire from Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer also handcuffed herself to Twitter headquarters in 2018 and said that because she was suspended or banned because of the horrific things she said, that this was like the Holocaust. She literally handcuffed herself to it. I'm not going to go through all the other things that she said. I think you get the point of how utterly ridiculous, and no offense to clowns, which is a real profession, this clownish buffoonery of the Trump regime is horrific stuff. So Trump was also asked about Signalgate, especially as we're learning more that it seemed to be par for the course, which Donald Trump probably gets that reference because he's vacationing and golfing again, that all of Trump's like Department of Defense officials, or not all of them, but they and the national security advisors would communicate via Gmail. Mike Walls, the national security advisor, would do a lot of other text threads that involved war plans and classified information. So Trump's asked about this, and now the official position from the regime is you're not allowed to ask questions about it. That's what they say. You can't ask about it. Shut up. Here, just listen to him for yourself. Play this clip.
When could that happen? On Pete Hegseth and this IG investigation, do you want to weigh in on that?
What is it?
There's an IG investigation into the Secretary of Defense's use of the Signal app.
Oh, Adam, is that you're bringing that up again? Don't bring that up again. Your editor's probably. That's such a wasted story. So what else?
Chinese farmland.
Don't bring that up again. That's a wasted story. I'm not talking about it. One of Donald Trump's things, being a malignant narcissist, a sociopath, and one of the things we see is when things also go wrong, that's how you react. Like you would never see French President Emmanuel Macron talk like that, or Prime Minister Carney, or Claudia Sheinbaum. Like it's just not normal behavior for leaders, especially in public. It's not normal behaviors. And the comments of, I don't care, don't ask me, I don't care about that. We're not talking about that. No. There's a pathology here that's fatal to leadership. Why he should never be anywhere near the proximity of power. It's why he's bankrupted things throughout his life, multiple things throughout his life, almost probably close to setting again. I don't know what the record is, but probably a Guinness Book of Records for the amount of bankruptcies of things over and over again. And that's not a good thing to be.
Ben, real quick though, too, and not to bang on this drum too much here, but corporate media, and I don't want to pick on this person asking the question. I don't even know actually who that was who was asking it, but it's just like, what are you doing? What? Don't let yourself get played like that. You have a question. It's a legitimate question. I know you want the access. I know you want to be on Air Force One so you could tell your family members and you could brag about it to your circle. I'm on Air Force One with the president. I guess I got to play by his. Your job is to get those answers, not to just roll over the second you get just a little bit of pushback. What are we doing here? And that's why, Ben, I'm so glad that you brought that up and were able to show that clip here.
Brett, let me toss it to you now on the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. Also, these protests on April 5th that we're going to be covering here on the MeidasTouch Network. It certainly feels that there is a strong pro-democracy movement growing. I am happy as well that I think a lot of this data showing the MeidasTouch Network beating all YouTube channels, leading Fox, beating Joe Rogan in podcasts by double also, I think hopefully is reflective of people turning away from MAGA and Trump and wanting the truth. So I think that is a data point, but I'm not here to pat myself on the back. I'm here to thank the Meidas Mighty here in the United States and abroad for empowering this movement that became a network. But Brett, let me toss it to you, Wisconsin and the protests.
Well, I'll just say this. I think one of the reasons why this network resonates with folks and why this community is so important is that we're not following the political winds, right? The political winds are going to shift. That doesn't mean you shift your values to try to sort of time the market, to so to speak, right? We all have our values. We know what's right. We know what's wrong. We know what Donald Trump is doing is very wrong. And it is just what? We're a few months now into Donald Trump's disastrous administration, and we are already seeing a seismic shift. So I think a lot of these people who have been leaning into like MAGA talking points, trying to shift to the right, also, I think they're going to have a lot of egg on their face, if they don't already, because people are going to be sick of this stuff so quickly. How do I know? Well, because they already are sick of this stuff. And like I said earlier, this stuff is always very cyclical, right? There's a cyclical power at play where people Vote us one way, they go, oh shit, we shouldn't have done that. Vote the other way, go, oh shit, this maybe could be better, and then vote the other way, and it just ping pongs back and forth. Now we're seeing a shift though right now that's quicker than we've ever seen before. And so first I want to highlight Judge Susan Crawford in Wisconsin. Judge Susan Crawford, she defeated the MAGA judge candidate Brad Schimmel. This was a race that MAGA, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, their entire media ecosystem, all of their influencers, they all went all in on this race. Elon Musk spent like more money than anybody else combined. Musk was handing out checks to people. He literally gave a few people $1 million checks, like doing these, to me, very obviously illegal schemes in the state to try to influence in the election. But guess what? It failed. In fact, I think it backfired because there were some Republican initiatives that actually performed better than Brad Schimmel did in the race on the same ballot. So I think Elon Musk actually had, if you want to talk about Doge, the most inefficient investments on the planet, because his candidate got smoked in this race, even worse than he probably would have if Elon Musk never even stepped foot in that state or spoke about this election once. So that's a big deal. It's a big deal that in Wisconsin, we see Judge Crawford winning. It was something like 55.1% to 44.9%, something around that. Those are very, 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 very sizable margins. So now all these sort of illegal gerrymandering tricks that these MAGA Republicans wanted to pull in Wisconsin, that's over. It could help Democrats in the House coming up. That's a big, big, big deal. This a big, big, big deal that this happened. And I want to show you, speaking of the political wins, let me show you what that looks like when you lay it out on a map. Here's a map. I'm going to pull it up. I'll just describe it for the folks listening. It's a map of the shift in the margins from the 2024 presidential vote in places in Wisconsin compared to the vote just now in this race for Supreme Court in Wisconsin. You could see every one of these blue arrows is shifting. The way they do it is they do blue arrows shifting to the left to show that it's getting more Democratic. This is statewide on this map. I don't even see a single red arrow shifting all the way to the left. If you look at the election map, this went the complete opposite direction. Now the winds have quickly shifted. And we are seeing the wind shift even in places like Florida, even in deep red districts that went to Trump by like 30 points. And I know, I got a lot of comments when I was speaking about the Florida elections and we were posting about it where people said, but Brett, we lost these races. So who cares if, the Democrats increased their margins and the MAGA guy didn't do better? Well, you got to think about things a little bit in a brick by brick way. Things don't just change overnight, right? And Florida over the past many years has become redder and redder and redder. And these districts were incredibly red districts to begin with. It's the only reason why Trump felt comfortable, at least at first, plucking these people out of their seats to try to give them jobs in their administration. Well, what was the result of this? Basically, there was about a 20-point shift in Florida towards the Democrats in these Trump districts. Districts that Trump won handily by 30 points, districts that the MAGA candidates won handily by, in some cases, even more than that. To see that shift in less than 100 days into Trump is absolutely stunning. I think voters out there understand that we are on the wrong track. They understand that they don't like waking up and looking at their 401ks and seeing it just completely crash. They understand that they don't like going to the store and paying more for goods. They don't like fighting with Canada. They don't like all the chaos every single day. I wish they knew that a few months ago, but it's clear that they know that now. I think the Democrats are actually set up quite well right now for the midterms in 2026. I think there's going to be a lot of momentum there. I think you could honestly, in many ways, disregard those sort of approval ratings for the Democrats, because I think that also speaks to this this feeling of weakness and leaders who, and we've criticized them plenty, who had not stepped up enough. But what else happened this week? We saw Senator Cory Booker get up there on the Senate floor and speak for 25 hours straight, the longest speech in Senate history, in order to protest Elon Musk, Doge, and Donald Trump. I think you're seeing the fight out there. You're seeing the fight now in the halls of Congress. You're seeing the fight out there on the streets. And this weekend, we're going to be highlighting it here. There's a massive mobilization effort across the country. They're calling it the hands-off protest. Mass mobilization this Saturday, April 5th. Here's going to be my ask to you, because there are more than 1,000 events planned across the nation on April 5th. And you could Google it. You'll find all the locations. I know Indivisible is a group that's helping to coordinate. I know Move On is a group that's helping to coordinate. So you go to their websites, you'll see a list of where all the events are if you want to join this. Over 100 organizations are supporting these efforts. There are going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of people on the streets this weekend to protest this Trump regime. Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you some homework. When you're at these events, take pictures, take video, post it on social media. Don't rely on like, oh, there's so many people out there. The mainstream media will probably cover this. The corporate media will probably cover this. The one thing we learned about building MeidasTouch is sometimes you got to build MeidasTouch. Sometimes you got to build. Sometimes you got to take things into your own hands if you don't see things going the way that you want it to. So you all are going to be out there. I know a lot of you are going to be at the protests. If you are there, take pictures, post them on social media, tag us, send them to us. We're here to uplift everything you do, and we're going to try to figure out some other creative ways to cover these events as well. This is important. We predicted here at the MeidasTouch Network a democracy summer. Well, it looks like a democracy spring is already upon us, and this is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm so honestly proud of everybody out there for putting in the work, for remaining in this fight. I got to say, by just you listening to the show shows that you are still in this fight, that you have not been defeated. Trump thought he was going to defeat us, but I'm telling you, in these past few weeks, the political winds have shifted. He has lost control. His administration has completely lost control. They are flailing. Fox News is flailing. This community is leading, and you are leading. And, you know, I think that's why when you look at these charts, you see MeidasTouch right here is the fastest growing political or political adjacent YouTube channel by net new subscribers in Q1 of 2025. We saw this data earlier today. This is kind of unheard of in the digital space. This has been unheard of for years and years, maybe ever. This is the first time that we are seeing creators who are pro-democracy breaking through at this level, because you guys are all in this fight. And when you look at this, we see a lot of friends here, right? We see MeidasTouch, we see Dave Pacman, we see Adam Mockler, our Gen Z contributor, right there at the top. They're defeating the likes of the Megyn Kellys, the Candace Owens, the you name it. I could go through all the list of these MAGA. Yep. That's a testament to you and your power. So let's continue this fight. Let's keep it strong. Shout out to all of our international supporters as well. We're so grateful for you, and we stand in solidarity with you. Elbows up to Canada. Shout out to all of our followers in Greenland and the EU, everywhere across the world, Australia.
Shout out to the Penguins.
Shout out to the Penguins and the McDonald Islands who tariffed and you know, hang in there, Penguins. You know, some people say that Donald Trump just saw the word McDonald's. They're saying that he saw the word McDonald's and got excited and threw a tariff on the McDonald Islands. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I'm just saying there are dumber things he's done.
Shout out to Brian Tyler Cohen on the list as well. Shout out to all of the creators. We can go down that list and name you all, but the pro-democracy fighters, that is. Shout out to the pro-democracy fighters on the list. If you can do us a favor for our YouTube viewers, please, after the show, subscribe to the audio podcast as well. That helps us stay #1 on the audio podcast charts. And if audio listeners and YouTube listeners can leave a 5-star review to the audio podcast, you got a lot of the Joe Rogan trolls who try to take down our rating by leaving 1-star negative reviews and saying bad things about the show when they don't even listen to it. So if you like the show, you think it's a 5-star show, then please leave that 5-star review where the audio podcast is available. Also, audio listeners and YouTube watchers, make sure you hit subscribe on the YouTube channel right now. We're on that pace for 5 million subscribers. Help us get there. You got the elbows up and other emojis for our YouTube members right here. You can gift memberships to others on YouTube in this live chat right now before the show ends. Also, check out patreon.com/MeidasTouch if you want to meet Brett, Jordy, and myself, patreon.com/MeidasTouch, MEIDASTOUCH. This was unfortunately a very busy week with all of the Trump shenanigans, but we will be on the Patreon live for an exclusive meeting if you ever wanted to meet us next week. So patreon.com/MeidasTouch. And also don't forget to subscribe to MeidasPlus.com, MEIDASPLUS.com. That's where our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, writes the best daily recaps of everything that's been going on in the day. If we've missed something on the show or on our social media post, you can be sure that Ron Filipkowski covers it at MeidasPlus.com. We also include a bunch of other content on there as well. Thank you all so much for watching the #1 podcast in America, Canada, and many other countries, the MeidasTouch Podcast. We appreciate you. You've made this possible. To the Meidas Mighty, everybody watching, thank you for all that you do every single day. We appreciate you. Jordy?
One sec. Sorry. Consider this bonus content. I know we're signing off. Brett, what drink are you holding? Are you holding a tiny blue Gatorade too? That's how you know we're brothers, folks. That you're muted right now, but
matching
hilarious.
Twins. Look at that.
Hilarious.
This is the content people come here for, Jordy.
The tiny blue Gatorades. Shout out to the Meidas Mighty. Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.